domineering CEO fell in love with the poor girl. In order to prove the importance of each other in their hearts, the two actually lived in the RV for a period of time without leaving home. But suddenly, one day, the girl left without a word. In order to wait for his beloved girl, Jae-won waits at the appointed place every week. Whenever he thought of the sweet moments they had, Jae-won can't take the blow of a breakup. He got drunk every time. When he missed her to the extreme, even dreams are Seon-ah. However, that was not the dream he thought. Seon-ah stared at the man who loved her to the core with a distressed face, and unknowingly her eyes turned red. She saw Jae-won still wearing their wedding rings. They had agreed never to take it off until death. But now she missed the agreement. Awakened, Jae-won sadly expresses his thoughts to Seon-ah. A year ago, the innocent Jae-won fell in love with the warm and cheerful Seon-ah at first sight while traveling. Seon-ah taught him to drive. He taught Seon-ah how to surf. Unexpectedly, Seon-ah suddenly knocked his head. Careful, Jae-won carefully drugged her and dried her hair. At this moment, Jae-won's hand accidentally touched Seon-ah's lip. The atmosphere between them suddenly became ambiguous. After that, they spent a warm evening together. Jae-won thinks she found a significant other. He didn't expect that Seon-ah was also very close to others. Jae-won realized she was being played and felt very disappointed. But what makes Jae-won more disappointed is still to come. Seon-ah said he was going to the movies with other boys and completely leave Jae-won aside to play with others. Jae-won, who was ignored, had to eat lunch alone. That day, he accidentally heard Seon-ah skating with someone else and twisted his ankle. Unpromising, Jae-won immediately went to get the medical kit. Soon after, Jae-won heard that Seon-ah learned to turn under the waves. He felt deeply hurt, just as he was sitting on the beach feeling very wronged and sulking. Seon-ah went to sleep beside him on purpose. Aggrieved, Jae-won can't help but complain. He wanted to teach Seon-ah to turn the waves himself, but he was afraid that Seon-ah would get hurt, so he kept observing the situation of the waves. But Seon-ah has learned Seon-ah doesn't speak. Jae-won looks unhappy but still gently took off his hat. Block out the harsh sunlight for her. After a long time, Jae-won can't wait for Seon-ah's explanation. The next second, he put the hat on Seon-ah's face angrily and turned around and left angrily. After returning to the camper, but unexpectedly learned from the boy they didn't go to the movie together. When Jae-won heard the man say that Seon-ah was going to the movies with him, he was overjoyed. It turns out that Seon-ah has no empathy. Soon, Jae-won was hiding under the window and apologizing to Seon-ah and invited her to watch the rain in the field the next day. Seon-ah was late for work. Jae-won looked at the empty surroundings and was extremely disappointed. Just as he left, Seon-ah arrived after the poo. Since I don't want to miss Jae-won, Seon-ah took a shortcut and stopped the car on the way. The two began to spend a wonderful time together in the RV. They rode bikes together and surfed together. They not only played in the rain, but also ran to the wilderness to paint nails. Seon-ah in front of outsiders. She made no secret of her love for Jae-won and even held a wedding for the two of them. Unexpectedly, Jae-won actually prepared a pair of wedding rings. She thought it was just a formality to please. She didn't expect Jae-won to be so serious. Seon-ah embraces Jae-won affectionately. They promise to never take off the rings until death. Romantic vows are the most poisonous poison. Due to Jae-won's temporary business, he has to go back to Seoul first before he left. He told Seon-ah again and again to contact him when she got back. If she forgot, meet at the appointed place at 10 o'clock every Saturday. Unexpectedly, Seon-ah has not been heard from since then and took the camera that stored their memories together. Jae-won, who was deeply involved in this, often got drunk. Every time he got drunk, he went to the police. The police on the side were used to it. Because Jae-won for a year has been to the police station 5 times. Jae-won, who was tortured by a breakup for a year, came to Chingshi River again. He misses Seon-ah, but he couldn't continue to be so decadent. Jae-won takes off his ring to say goodbye to Seon-ah once and for all. That's when he saw Seon-ah. Jae-won is unbelievable. For a moment, Jae-won thought there was something wrong with his eyes. Until he saw Seon-ah flee, he realized that it was not an illusion. So he chased after her desperately. He threw Seon-ah down and held her tightly in his arms. Nothing will let her escape this time. This scene was seen by the police patrolling nearby. I learned that the girl in front of me is the camera thief Seon-ah, so they decided to arrest her. This time, Jae-won was directly dumbfounded. Seon-ah, who was stolen by someone at the police station, was nervous. Jae-won immediately squeezed her hand to comfort her. The police need to register Seon-ah's identity, but she was hesitant and unwilling to cooperate, because she was afraid that her true identity exposed in front of Jae-won. The quick-eyed Jae-won grabbed the ID card. He couldn't wait to find out where Seon-ah lived. As a result, he was stunned in place. It turned out that Seon-ah's real name was Yoon. The police officer next to him was confused. At this moment, Jae-won is completely in a state of rage. He asked Seon-ah how many lies she had told him. The lover he had been searching for a year turned out to be a liar. Jae-won can't accept this fact. At this moment, he finally let go. This relationship was full of lies from start to finish. Jae-won left in anger, and Yoon immediately chased out the door. But Jae-won didn't want to talk to her at all. In a hurry, Yoon can only run wild and chase after. She paid no attention to the motorcycle behind her and fell heavily to the ground. Jae-won, who saw this scene in the rearview mirror, immediately stopped the car. To check Yoon's condition, turns out Yoon caught up just to return the camera. This also made the wounded Jae-won even more angry. In anger, smashed the camera that recorded the sweet memories of that year to pieces. With a few harsh words, Jae-won took off the wedding ring he said he would never take off until he died, cruelly threw it into the Chingxi River where they once met. He turned around and drove away mercilessly. A year ago, Yoon has a man who is about to get married. She secretly came to her boyfriend's wedding room in Busan. She planned to give him a surprise, but when she opened the door, but saw another woman wearing the same couple's pajamas as her boyfriend. But the reason given by her boyfriend was, she's too ordinary and boring. In this way, Seon-ah escaped from the place where she was choking. The next day, she went to work with a good mood, but was told that her previous admission has been cancelled because she is ordinary and ordinary. This reminds Yoon of Seon-ah, who interviewed with her that day. She's very energetic, with exaggerated hair, and was not afraid of the examiner. She was very social, well-behaved and quiet. Yoon was hit hard. She suddenly realized that she was 30 and still ordinary and accomplished nothing. Life was terrible, and couldn't help breaking down and crying. She came to the island alone, decided to bid farewell to her inferiority complex, hesitant, quiet, and obedient self. She stole Seon-ah's name, imitate Seon-ah's lively and cheerful personality, in love with the innocent Jae-won. She once wanted to confess everything to Jae-won, but Yoon was disheartened by Jae-won's answer. All he likes is Seon-ah, rather than the real Yoon. So just after the two of them separated, she completely cut off contact with Jae-won. At the same time, the police officer was on his way home from work, found Yoon with a flashlight in the Keshwi River. In the cold winter night, Yoon in the freezing cold water, looking for the ring Jae-won threw away. At this moment, the necklace around her neck emitted a dazzling light. Turns out, Yoon didn't throw away that wedding ring. Instead, she made it into a necklace and wore it everywhere. Yoon, who found the ring, is happy like a child. This is the culmination of her love for Jae-won. Then Jae-won also returned to look for the ring. Obviously, he could only return empty-handed. Jae-won returns home and blamed himself for losing control of his emotions. Worried about scaring Seon-ah. To escape the emotional pain, Seon-ah, who chooses to numb himself with work, and she goes home and she shouts and she jumps. She even cried so hard when watching a comedy. She also talked to herself from time to time. Friends worried that she was mentally ill, so they wanted to find a project for her and let her work to maybe be normal. Unexpectedly, Jae-won's cousin introduced Seon-ah's project book to Jae-won. An unremarkable business card fell out of the document. Jae-won always looks familiar when she picks it up. Suddenly remembered that Seon-ah's name was also on his ID card. Could it really be a coincidence? How did his cousin know Seon-ah? So he quickly found the project proposal, and the address on the document was the same. Jae-won panicked. He called the number on the phone. Yoon's voice came from the opposite side, but he also heard the voice of another man. Jae-won. He was so angry that he couldn't sleep all night. The next day, a depressed Jae-won called her cousin for questioning. The cousin was confused, but still told him everything about Yoon. A year ago, Yoon quit her job to follow her boyfriend, but her boyfriend had already lived with someone else. Even newly found jobs were cancelled, and homeless Yoon disappeared for 3 months afterwards. But when she reappeared, she had changed her personality. Cousin sees that Jae-won is very interested in Yoon. He suggested they have a barbecue party this weekend, and they could meet in person if they had time. Before leaving, Jae-won asked his cousin if Yoon lived with a man. The cousin explained that it was her colleague, they just rent together. Jae-won's mood instantly improved after listening to it. The next day, Jae-won was invited to come. Spotted that Jae-won suddenly appeared Yoon nervous at a loss. She thought Jae-won would tell about her cheating on his feelings. Unexpectedly, Jae-won pretended not to know herself. Jae-won held Yoon's hand tightly and refused to let go. Finally, the cousin couldn't stand it anymore, so he had to forcibly separate them. The cousin accidentally found that the ring Jae-won has been wearing is missing, so he asked him what happened. Jae-won said with a wry smile that she threw it away because everything about that girl was fake. Eyes look affectionately at Yoon. At the table, everyone kept blaming the thief who stole the camera. Jae-won even volunteered to ask Yoon, how does she feel about it? Yoon says she won't share her romance with friends. Jae-won gets more and more excited, almost losing control of his emotions. Others looked at him in confusion, mistaking him for not getting over the breakup, and comforted him that he would meet a better girl. At this time, Yoon's colleague suddenly lifted the necklace around her neck. Everyone asked Yoon curiously, "What's up with the couple's ring on her neck?" To hide the secret, Yoon escaped on the pretext of going to the bathroom. Yoon wonders how Jae-won knows her address. How much did he know about her? Jae-won snatched the planning book from her cousin's hand. Take the opportunity to give it to Yoon. He wanted to create alone time for them. Jae-won wants to know, why is Yoon using the fake identity of Seon-ah to deceive his feelings? He wants to find out why Yoon keeps avoiding him. Yoon, with low self-esteem, refuses to say anything. She didn't want Jae-won to know about her stupid past. Jae-won's words deeply hurt Yoon's heart. It is because of her true self that she is ordinary, mediocre, and timid. She will feel so inferior that she doesn't even have the courage to go to love. Sad Yoon drinks away her sorrows, and Jae-won, who came home, regretted it. He shouldn't have said such heavy words to Yoon. They were so happy at the beginning. Yoon, who drank up a whole bottle of whiskey. She dragged her suitcase aimlessly down the street again. Drunk, Yoon decides to run away again, so she got on the bus again. All that comes to mind is Jae-won. Under the influence of alcohol, Yoon pulled out her phone and found Jae-won's number and cried bitterly. Jae-won saw a few unfamiliar text messages on her phone. Jae-won dialed this number with confusion. But the person answering the phone was the bus driver. Yoon in the car was drunk and unconscious. Jae-won suddenly realized something. Quickly rummaged through the bag to find Yoon's business card and then compared it with the number on the phone and immediately drove to the bus terminal. The next day, Yoon woke up. She found herself lying in her ex-husband's house. She saw Jae-won outside the door. Yoon remembered Jae-won picked her up from the bus last night and was immediately dumbfounded by his own stupidity. Yoon plans to sneak away irresponsibly, but the doorbell suddenly rang, so she had to quickly hide in the corner. Little do they know that Jae-won has already seen it all, to cooperate with Yoon. Jae-won just doesn't expose her little trick. Then, Yoon's phone suddenly called. Jae-won grabbed the phone and said in a tough tone, "Yoon is with him now," and hung up the phone rudely. The colleague was confused. Yoon asks Jae-won why she treats her friend like this. Jae-won's arrogant reply is all learned from her. He wants to have a good chat with Yoon. Yoon made Jae-won forget her, so the two broke up unhappily. Soon, it started to rain outside. Jae-won saw the rain outside, thinking of Yoon without an umbrella, so he drove to chase. The two had just had a fight. Yoon doesn't want to stay with Jae-won. Jae-won has ulterior motives and says he won't lend his umbrella to his hated ex. Then domineering Yoon into the car, the two sat in the car. Jae-won suddenly lowered the back of the chair. Yoon was startled. Yoon realized she was being played and wanted to leave immediately. Jae-won hurried up and hold her and played the music they often listened to when they were dating. Jae-won stares at Yoon. Yuno is very uncomfortable. She wanted to change the song. It makes Yuno's heart feel sweet and itchy. She doesn't hate Jae-won at all. At night, Jae-won secretly searches for Yuno's social software. He found that Yuno has always recorded the past of both of them. Yuno also said it was those times that kept her going. Jae-won suddenly realized he doesn't know Yuno at all. But Yuno has always loved him deeply, so he deliberately smashed Yuno's headlights to try to contact Yuno. Let him not expect Yuno to be behind him. She quietly watched Jae-won perform. Jae-won, who is at a loss, quickly apologized. Yuno got more angry when he heard that. Tell Jae-won not to mention it. Jae-won is in a hurry. Obviously, Yuno seduced him first. They quarreled fiercely. Yuno kicked Jae-won's car angrily. Then Yuno's ring suddenly fell off and rolled at Jae-won's feet. Jae-won could tell at a glance it was their wedding ring. It turned out that Yuno never lost her ring and picked up Jae-won's. Jae-won is convinced that Yuno still loves him. But when they calmed down, Yuno said she regretted kissing Jae-won and regretted picking up the ring. Now Jae-won is completely broken. After returning home, Jae-won scolded Yuno for being a bad guy. He searched hard for Yuno for a year but was dumped in the end. Jae-won was so angry that he couldn't sleep all night. He took out his phone and dialed Yuno's number. Unexpectedly, Yuno hung up the phone directly. Unconvinced, Jae-won called again and showed the strongest attitude to support himself. As a result, Yuno hung up again with a perfunctory sentence. Resolutely refusing to admit defeat, Jae-won called back again. Finally, Yuno gave Jae-won a chance to communicate. Jae-won says, after meeting Yuno, he had done all kinds of crazy things, but he never regretted it. Yuno also confessed she never regretted meeting Jae-won, even thanks to Jae-won, because when they met, it was when she was most miserable and in need of love. But she doesn't want to change back quiet and stupid Lee Yuno. She also doesn't want to continue pretending to be the lively and cheerful Seon-ah. Instead of getting back together, what matters more now is to understand herself. Jae-won didn't get angry, but felt that Yuno wants to find her true self, was very handsome. He respected Yuno's decision and returned Yuno the suitcase she lost when she was drunk and put a necklace inside. Yuno also returned the camera full of memories of both of them. They decided to say goodbye to the past completely. In the evening, Yuno also mustered up the courage to take the initiative to confess to her friends that he disappeared a year ago, pretending to be Seon-ah's love story. She had planned to keep this secret to herself, but she decided to embrace a new life, and she didn't want to continue to run away from covering up this scar. To Yuno's surprise, the friends who learned the truth only felt sorry for her. It turns out that Yuno has endured it all alone. They like the old Yuno and the crying and laughing Yuno now. Finally, the three of them hugged and cried together. The next day, Yuno went to work full of confidence. Her rigorous logic and original creativity won Jae-won's approval. They handled business matters professionally, without any personal feelings. But seeing Yuno's empty neck, Jae-won can't help but feel lost. In the evening, Yuno took the initiative to find Jae-won. She took out the necklace and didn't put it on directly. Instead, asked Jae-won, who is still timid and clumsy, and may become even more stupid in the future. At the end of the story, Jae-won personally helped Yuno put on the necklace, and in this way, the love between the domineering president and the obedient girl finally ended perfectly